you're working on your own. Wow. Einkommen. For the Finanzamt, if you're angestellt, you need to do a Lohnsteuererklärung because you're receiving Gehalt. And if you're working
Пояснительную записку.
Then you need Einkommenssteuererklärung.
Ага, очень интересно.
Oh, I don't know.
It's essentially the same.
Yeah, but
Ну ты же пошла дискуссию.
different words.
Я буду отдыхать.
Different forms.
For some of them it's compulsory.
Следу Рамбама.
And
Еще
if
одного.
you're employed, it's optional.
To make
Санхедрин.
the declaration is optional because you think you're getting back something. If you're self-standing, you need to do it. You're
Selbstständig.
forced to do it every year.
Yeah,
Я потерял Рамбама.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it
With online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, can you repeat that?
Esther. Mhm.
Yes. I just have this paper. I don't know what to read.
Open.
Yes, and I was in Finanzamt,
Mhm.
and some women said, "Oh, this, yes, take it." And
They have it in English and Russian and so as well.
oh no, I
Or
just
just in German.
no.
He was silent.
It just about this site. Yes.
10th.
Esther.
10th principle.
Esther, not Esther.
Yeah.
10th principle.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I just
the
take
word.
this paper.
И сюда серии.
So it's the abbreviation for elektronische Steuererklärung. But Esther is also, it's a bird, a black bird which steals
beautiful.
everything that is silver. A black bird.
Varona.
It fits very well. So.
Yeah. In Russian also.
Okay. So we start in the third part of this list. We talked about God and how he connects with us in terms of the teaching that he had. So we already have Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu. So we talked about prophecy. And now after we have Torah, we will have another 4 or 3. We will count now. Principles. So we discussed previous time that the Torah cannot be changed. So now the 10th principle is that God knows what's happening with the people in this world and not forgetting about us. This is the 10th, and the 11th is the continuation of this idea. Therefore, Hashem gives Sachar, reward, for who performs obligations of Torah, V'yanish, and gives Onesh, punishment for punishment in German is Straf. Yeah, Strafe, like in Russian. למי שעובר על אזהרותיהם. For one who disobeys the law of Torah, he receives punishment. So there is a reward and there is a punishment. This is the first step of this 11th principle. And the second step is what is the reward? And the main reward, וכי השכר הגדול בעולם הבא, ועונש החזקה הכרת. So the biggest, the main, we can say, reward is Haolam Haba, the next world. We discussed it in previous time. It's a non-physical world, spiritual world, where the soul can be closer to God than in this world, and this closeness to God is given very big joy to the soul. So the main punishment is called karet. Karet basically is when the soul doesn't continue to exist after the death of the body, but disappears and doesn't go to the next world, Olam Haba. This is called karet. But when we started, so previous time we was also learning little Rambam, but we didn't finish it. So the main question that we didn't spoke about in previous time is, for example, we read Kriyat Shema every day, and it's also talking about reward and punishment, mainly the second part of Shema, and how it says. Вторая часть Шма. У тебя есть сюда?
Ну, да.
Давай. Ну, отлично, я хотел на немецком. Ну, хорошо.
Ну, пожалуйста.
Ну, спасибо. So it goes like this. If you will listen to my commandments, that I commanded you today, you will if you will love your God, and serve Him with all your heart, with all your commitment of your soul. So what's the reward? This is from the book Dvarim. I will give the the rain for your land and the time when it's needed. This is different types of rain. So you can gather your harvest. Not only the grain, but also tirosh v'izhar. Tirosh is the vineyards, and izhar is the olives. Und dein Öl. Und then what? Ich werde das Gras auf deinem Feld für dein Vieh geben. Vieh, animals, house animals. Du wirst essen und du wirst satt werden. You will eat and you will be full of it. So this is the reward. We see from this quote from the book Dvarim that the reward is not the Olam Haba, like Rambam said, but it's in this world, right? When we have a rain, we have food. This is the reward. More simple idea. So the question: how can we understand this contradiction? And the punishment. The punishment is you should be careful and not not go off this road, the path of Hashem, and not to serve other gods, not to bow to them, because then Hashem bachem, God will be angry at you, ve'atzar et hashamayim. Wird den Himmel verschließen. To close the sky. So the sky is the source of water, of rain. Velo yematar, and it should not be rain. And the earth would not give the fruit. And therefore you will not have the fruit, so you will die out of golod, hunger, out of hunger. So this is the punishment. So it's not karet about, it's not about the soul, like Rambam saying, it's about the body, right? So this is the contradiction that, of course, Rambam was aware of, and he talks about it. But we didn't manage to learn it in previous time. So it should be here. So how can we answer this contradiction? Maybe you have an idea. So the reward and this punishment is for the body when we live here in this world, or it is for the soul in the next world? Награды и наказания в этом мире, как написано в письменной Торе, или в будущем мире, как говорит Рамбам? Yes.
I think they don't exclude each other.
Maybe this and this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good direction to go.
Some in this.
Yes, because Rambam saying that the big reward is Olam Haba, but maybe he doesn't deny that there is a reward in this world, right?
Yeah, but we don't know.
What we don't know.
We can know like exactly.
Rambam knows everything.
Oh yeah, it's for example about the parents to be good with family. You can how I know to take this this punishment with
Reward.
in this life. How I know so one thing.
למען ייטב לך וארכת ימים. So the Drasha says that we learned previous time, לעולם שכולו טוב ולעולם שכולו ארוך. So you would live for a long time. So when you read written Torah, you understand in this world, but the oral Torah says לעולם שכולו טוב ולעולם שכולו ארוך. So this is in the next world, עולם הבא. Right? We learned it previous time. So what you wanted to say?
Yeah, about respect to parents.
כבד את אביך ואת אמך. So what about it?
So if people will do this respect to like a person to his parents, it's can be regarding this in his life. Yeah, like you know.
So what is the reward?
I don't know.
Huh?
I can imagine about the terrorist how it can be, but
We have a source why we need to imagine.
yes,
And that es dir gut geht und du lange lebst. So. That it's your reward for this life.
yes, it's about this.
Yeah.
That if you will be good with your parents, you will be have this regard in your life.
Yeah.
Yes, it's something good.
So what are you saying?
If you will be good with your parents,
Then what?
you will have regards in your life.
Regards?
Rewards.
Regards, thank you.
What do you mean my life? In the physical world or in the spiritual world?
This life is physical world, not spiritual.
So the reward would be in this world or in the spiritual world? How you answer this question?
In this world.
In this world. Huh? But we learned in previous time, and I'm trying to find this quote, that it is in the next world.
Which world? I think.
I can just...
With parents, no?
לעולם שכולו טוב, לעולם שכולו ארוך. לעולם שכולו טוב ולעולם שכולו ארוך.
What I remember about
What's
this.
the next world?
What is this? Oh, so this is...
Yeah.
It can be interpreted as the next moment.
Oh.
And if I do things right now, I have good chances that the next moment
Will be good.
will be good for me.
But I don't think that this is what the Torah means when
Oh,
it's being
Does the written Torah really tell about Olam Haba?
מפי השמוע למדו, למען ייטב לך לעולם שכולו טוב, וארכת ימים לעולם שכולו ארוך. וזהו העולם הבא. So the drasha goes, so because the Torah says it twice, למען יאריכון ימיך, so I need to find this quote. So it's Rambam in הלכות תשובה, פרק ח' הלכה א'. Let's see.
It's very hard to find this. I don't know how Erwin do it so fast. Sometimes when I want to
משנה תורה.
it's like links of Wikipedia. When
Repentance.
you do it mechanically, not automatically. And in these books, it's also very beautiful.
So it's in the book of Dvarim.
Boys in yeshiva do like.
Man tavlach ve'arachta yamim.
Let's
see.
find it. This here.
Yes, it's good if you will have the library.
Wow, something
Because in computer,
complicated.
So it's Dvarim 22 Zayin. So it's about this bird. When you find the bird, the nest, and the children, and the person tends to take everything with him, because you can have both the eggs and the bird. So it's a whole meal, right? But Torah said you cannot have it all. If you want, you can have the eggs, the children, but then you need to get rid of the mother. You cannot take it all. Why? In order that it will be good for you, and your days will be long days. So which means you will live long life. So what means long life? So Rambam quotes from the Oral Torah. What means you will be good? In the world, which is good in his essence. And you will have long days, long years. What it means? Le'olam shekulo aroch. It's talking about the world which are long world in the essence. Kulo. So it's a beautiful drasha. Le'olam shekulo tov. So basically, it's transferring this saying from this world to the next world, right? Because our world is not kuloto. We have also a lot of bad things in our world, right? So what is the reward that God wants to give us? If the God would reward us in this world, so this reward would be very limited, right? Because in this world, there are a lot of bad things. For example, if I eat something sweet, so I can have a bina, right? So then the reward is have some flaw. This is just an example. And but I could live for a long life, right? But in this world, when person getting older, so he became some sickness usually. So if the person would live a long life, it also has some flaw in it. I'm just explaining. So therefore, the sages telling that the reward of God should be ideal, therefore it's not in this world but in the world to come, the next world. So this is Olam Ba. So you was asking what is Olam Ba, right? Yeah, so we can repeat what we learned in previous time, really short. So it's kind of long. So basically, it's hard to understand what it is. This is what Rambam is saying, because we have our physical body and something that is not physical. It's hard to understand for us what it is. And he gives an example. So I will have only one example. He brings a lot of examples. It's a beautiful example about the fish. So the fish is in the water, and the fish doesn't understand what it is fire, because the fish doesn't contact with the fire, right? So the same, we are in this material world. We have material feelings, material pleasures, and it's hard for us to understand what is the pleasure which is not material. But our soul can receive non-material pleasure, theoretically.
Can the fish have a desire for fire?
Oh, so this is the idea. Fish doesn't have an idea what is fire. So we are. This is the example.
Can a fish have a desire for fire?
That's what I'm saying. It's impossible because fish doesn't understand what is the fire, right? And it's a proverb. So we live in our physical body, so we understand what is physical pleasure, to eat or to smell something good, right? But what is the pleasure for our soul? It's hard for us to understand. Right.
So if we cannot understand it, should we have a desire for it?
Yeah, because we have an idea about it. Because we have a soul, so we can have psychological feelings or so.
Mhm.
But a fish doesn't have an idea, doesn't have a clue about what fire is. So he can't have a desire for fire.
It's just one example. He brings a lot of other examples, like the person which is blind and he doesn't understand what is color. It's the same. Or the person that cannot hear, so he cannot understand what is music. Examples like it. So it's just an examples, and examples in order to explain his idea that he has. So, so this is how it works with the soul and with the body. So the soul have his intentions, and the body have different intentions. And the intentions of the soul is very high, and the intentions of the body and the desires is very low. And it's another example. It's similar to the king. So the soul is like the king, and king have big ideas to organize his country, to grow, to develop, right? And if the king would go to remember his childhood when he was playing with the kids football, so it's something very not serious. So this is the example, the body and the soul. So what body wants is very small if we compare it to the want of the soul. It's something very big. But he was asking, can the fish understand what is fire? So he gives also examples of something close to spiritual pleasure in this world.
How can it be big if it's so physical?
Oh, big, it's also the proverb. It means valuable, right? So it's something very valuable, the desire of the soul and the joy that the soul can give, can have, we can say, intense, right? It's hard to talk indeed about something not physical. It's like when we was talking about God, it's also very hard to talk about God because he's not physical. So if we compare our wishes, our physical wishes, it's something really not serious if we compare it to the wishes of the soul. But still, Rambam has found some examples. Kavod. So the first example of the spiritual kind of pleasure in this world is kavod, is the honor. So if person strives that other people would give him honor, so honor is not something material. It's not only the presence, but it's the importance that people show into you, and you can have this satisfaction, I guess, when you have it, and this pleasure, which is not a physical pleasure. This is the first example that he found in this world, which is not physical joy. And also the other example is about revenge. So if one person wants to have a revenge with the other person, so this joy, when satisfaction, when the person having a revenge, it's also not physical joy, but it's some psychological, we would say today. Oh, so when we have the world to come, Olam Haba, this is the world where our soul lives, continues to live, and our soul can be connected with God, and this closeness to God is the source of joy. And when we live in this world, so we have our body, and our body is a very big obstacle when we're trying to connect with God, because we're thinking about all these material things. I need to go to work, I need to go to buy groceries, I need to go sleep, I need to eat. So this physical things takes big part of our life, and it's hard to find a place for something spiritual. For example, this is why I like to have a fast, because when we fasting, we don't eat, so we free a lot of resources in our brain to work, to think about something that we don't have time to think usually. So this time may be very productive. And it's not only me saying, but also Georgi, if you know Georgi. He was some young man.
You can fast forever.
Huh?
You can't fast forever.
Oh, so Olam Haba is like if you can fast forever. And you don't pay attention to material things, so you have left with more resources to focus on God and the values that we have. I guess it makes sense. Rambam is very logical. So how to explain what is Olam Haba and what is this joy? And Rambam quotes from the Talmud, Brachot. So first of all, sages told us what Olam Haba lacks, what there is no in Olam Haba. Olam Haba ein bo lo achila v'lo shtiya. Olam Haba doesn't have food or drinks. No richitza, you cannot go to and have this kind of joy. V'lo sicha, you cannot put oil on your skin. You cannot have this pleasure. Olam Haba v'lo tashmish, also no sexual pleasure. Elo tzadikim yoshvim v'torotechem b'roshehem v'nanim b'nitziv v'ashchina. So here is three things that explains. So first of all, it's for tzadikim. It's only for righteous person. And what they do, yoshvim, they present there. V'torotechem b'roshehem. Oh, so we discussed previous time what is atara. Krieg, you said?
What?
Atara. Kranz. So it's like what the König have, crown, but similar. But from the flowers or from the bench, from the leaves, from the tree, you can make it, right? It's called atara. And in Roman Greek culture, they have this symbol for someone that is important, or for example, if you win Olympic Games, you will have it also, right? Mm-hmm. So they, tzadikim, have it on their heads. And the main thing that they do, they received joy from God's ziv. Ziv is like light. So what this means? But what means that he have this kranz? שאירות הנפש בקיום המושכל להם, והוא הבורא יתברך. והיות הוא רוצה לומר המושכל, והוא דבר אחד, כמו שזכרנו, לא פלוסים בדרכים יערה ביורם בכאן. So this concept is very long to explain, and big philosophers talk about it. So this is when you can unite your mind with God. I guess this is the direction to go. So your soul remains because it's connected to God. What means that the righteous man receives pleasure from God's light? רצוני לומר שאותן הנשמות מתענגות ממש משיגות ויודעות ממיתת הבורא יתברך, כמו שמתענגות חיות הקודש ושאר מדרגות המלאכים, מה שהם משיגים ויודעים ממציאותו. So it's about malachim, a little bit about angels here. רצוני לומר, so the idea here is that the souls that exist in the world to come, they receive in pleasure because they understand, or feels, I would say, the God himself, like the angels angels are closer to God than we are. Different levels of angels, and angels also, they understand and knows and feels God, and therefore they receive some enormous pleasure. הנה כי הטובה והתכלית האחרון הוא להגיע לחברה העליונה הזאת ולהיות בכבוד הזה במעלה הנזכרת בקיום הנפש כמו שבארנו עד אין סוף בקיום בריא יתברך שהוא סיבת קיומה. So basically our physical body is limited, we cannot forever, but if our soul is managed to go to Olam Haba, rewarded, then we can be with the angels, our souls, and we can be in this society, the higher society, and our soul will exist forever because he is connected to the source of life, I would say. לפי שהשיגה אותו, כמו שנראה בפילוסופים הראשונים, וזהו טוב הגדול, אשר אין טוב להקיש לו, ואין תענוג שידמה לו. So basically, in the understanding of Rambam, this is the biggest and the most important thing that the person could strive for, is to feel connected to God, to understand. Today we would say to meet with God or to see the God, but since he's not physical, so we cannot say to see the God. So because of that, Rambam using the word lehasig, to understand, to know. Lehasig. 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 So lehasig, it could mean, a simple meaning is when I achieved something or reached for something. But also when I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to understand something, and when I finally got it, so it's also called lehasig. So it's an abstract meaning of this word, lehasig. So everything is here is abstract. וזהו הטוב הגדול שאין טוב להקיש לו ואין תענוג שידמה לו. This is tov, so we're talking about something good, right? למען ייטב לך, so this is where we started, למען ייטב לך וארכת ימים. So the reward for this mitzvah, when you not taking the mother bird with the children birds together, the reward is that ייטב לך, you will feel good, you will be good. So what is good, right? So Rambam philosophizes here about the good. So he says, good is Olam Haba, and in this world, it's relatively good. So it's a philosophical concept, right?
If you eat bird and they young, your stomach is full and you might feel good. But the next season, there is no bird.
Oh,
Yeah, I think also
good idea.
Maybe there's an aspect of agriculture because
Oh,
the subsidiary system back then.
so if you destroy everything, so you will not have anything, right?
So a subsidiary system means that you're living from the hand to the mouth, but you have a little bit to look forward. What will be tomorrow?
Yes, this is what
Yeah,
Winfried
as
wants
you
to say.
said. So if I kill both, if I eat the eggs and the mother, I will neither have eggs or meat.
So the family is dead
So,
and no
yeah.
next generation. So we need to think about the future. You're right.
Likewise with the grains.
Mm?
Likewise with grain. If you eat all of it,
Yeah.
you have a full stomach. But the next season, you go hungry.
And if you eat a little bit this season, so next season you also can eat a little bit and be good. This is the idea? Good idea. Okay, I guess it's not the source, it's just the idea of our sages that they had. The question from where they had this idea. We can learn it at the universities, but this idea exists anyway. It's a philosophical idea. So it's the idea of what we want to achieve and what we thrive for and what is the religion gives to us. So it's philosophical concept. You don't have to agree with Rambam, but he works with the concept of Olam Haba, and the concept of Olam Haba is from the sages, and it's a very big topic where we can find Olam Haba in the written Torah. Yes, it's a big question.
I think you can understand it in a logical way, or in an agricultural way, or in a strict, in a sense of obey to God, concerning. I don't know anything about it. So I don't know what will be in the Olam Haba. So it could be both. We have those chokim Batim, so it's both.
You can understand it logically, or you can just obey the law and don't understand the law. It's also a possibility.
I think many of these ideas were not from the time of Moshe, but they came later on from outside of Judaism.
Maybe.
And at the time of Moshe, it was extremely practical.
But this idea is practical or not? This is the question. If it came, so it was practical in some other culture, and in this culture it was practical, so we also got it, maybe, right? Because it's practical.
Yeah, that they were in the desert, so they had no idea about agriculture would be. I don't know, but not too much, because for them it was abstract. I think because they were not yet in Canaan, so
in Israel they had to do agriculture.
in the Midbar,
In Israel,
Israel.
they had to do agriculture.
they had to build temples. I don't know.
You're saying the Egyptians, they was working with agriculture. So what's the point of agriculture now? What we want to prove from agriculture?
I have the impression that 5 books of Moshe are the center of Judaism, and they are.
This is a good question. What is the center of Judaism? Yeah.
Extremely practical, down to earth. And when Moshe dies, he does not go to heaven, he just dies. But his ideas live on.
Okay.
We still talk about him. So in a certain sense, he is
The source.
lives.
Yes. So you said that the Chumash is practical, but we also have the tradition that we received orally, right? It exists. So it adds some details to the Chumash. So for example, a sukkah, we will have a sukkot. So we need to build a sukkah. There are a lot of laws how to build a sukkah, how many dimensions it should have, which material, but we don't have all the law in the written Torah. So when you're talking about practical, for example, Shabbat, how to observe Shabbat. So when you talk about practice, we need more details than we have in written Torah. So I would not say the Torah is practical. On the other hand, I would say the Torah is more about history and not about practice. Yes? What do you mean by saying that it's practical?
I have the impression that sometimes Jews feel that 613 of mitzvot are not enough. And they invent more and more.
But it should not be like they invented on purpose. It's in any culture develops and new things coming up naturally. It's inevitable.
New questions that arise with new
Also new challenges. Yes.
achievements and so, for example, how to deal with artificial
Intelligence.
Meat.
Meat.
Artificially grown
meat. Oh, this is interesting.
So those are questions that arise from new contexts and circumstances. So you can apply it word by word what is written, but you have to adapt it and find a solution for it. And therefore, there are more and more
new details, new laws. Yes, you know.
So it's meat that has been grown in a laboratory. Is it meat or is it not? So do I have to apply the halacha? Can I add halal or no? So it's there are new questions
that have been answered. I think.
Huh? You have an answer?
That have been answered, not by me.
Is it being answered? I think I'm not
It
sure.
looks
It's
like
not-
meat, it tastes
not
like
really
meat,
so
but it's not
the
from an
answers.
animal.
Hmm?
It tastes like meat, it looks like meat, but it is not from an animal.
Mhm.
And so there are no restrictions.
No, there are. It depends on the material that has been used is this one or that one. There are differences. So I'm not, and there are different opinions as well.
As usual.
As usual. Yeah, with more generations, more opinions.
But it's good. So we can discuss.
Oh,
That's
we have something to discuss. Yeah, it's a very big topic. That's interesting.
For example, can I use a car on Shabbat? So it's not an actual question, it's a question from back then when the car was invented. But so can I use it or not? Is it like making fire or not? So
Yeah, a lot of questions.
switch on the light, yes or not? Is it fire? Is it not?
But actually, when you said 613 mitzvot, it's a lot of mitzvot are very conditional. So it's not that every Jew have to perform 600 mitzvot. Yes, it's far less. We're not living in the land of Israel. We don't have a temple, so it's not 600 today. There are special books by Chafetz Chaim which have the list of actual mitzvot that we can perform today. I guess it's around 200. I don't remember exact number. It's called Sefer Mitzvot Katzar, the short list of commandments.
It's called Sefer.
Sefer Mitzvot Katzar. Katzar, short.
I think it's on Sefer. No?
Maybe. I saw it online.
I think there's always a long list what we can do on Shabbat and what one cannot do. I think the basic idea is not to do physical work
Yes, of course. But
and enjoy what you have performed the days before.
Okay.
Get together with the community, with the family.
that's right. That's the sense of Shabbat, I think.
If using a car helps to go to the synagogue, to meet friends.
I'm not sure. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think this is the topic that we discussed also on Shabbat about the society. So a lot of details are needed. So you're talking about the paths of the person. So if one person wants to serve God or wants to perform Judaism, he is moved to decide how he acts, and he have the choice. But when we organize in society, community, we have rules which helps us to unite the community. So we need to have understanding of Shabbat, which is obligates everyone. And if everyone could say, I think I can drive car, and some other person saying, I think I cannot. So we don't have the unity of people, right? And in order to make community strong, we need the unity. So therefore we have the laws which are very strict, right? I think this is the idea of these laws.
In old times, Jews used to live close together, and they had no need for a car on Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And they had short path to their neighbors, to the synagogue,
Mhm.
and everything was fine. But how far is the members of this synagogue dispersed around Erlangen? And even if they live on the other end of Erlangen, they cannot go halakhically to the synagogue because they either have to walk a long distance or have to travel by bus, car, or something else.
So what do you want to say?
The essence, I think, is not performing hard physical work, and or creative work.
Hard physical.
If I go into a car, it's can sit there very relaxed, drive. It's not remotely for me something like work.
We need to agree on some basis. So when you give explanation of the terms, so you need to rely on something. So for example, you're saying that it's about hard work. We also discussed about works. So for example, if I light a fire, it's is it a hard work or not? If I light a match, or if I take one flower from the ground, so it's also not hard work, and both are
Some years ago,
forbidden. Yeah.
If you use electricity, somewhere in the country, there surely was a fire.
I never heard about it. Okay.
In these days, most of the electricity comes from solar or from wind, and there is no fire.
But I think the idea, so I understand what you mean, but apart from that, so it's a very good thing for the environment, for the climate, to not use a car once a week, not switch on light once a week.
Oh, good idea. I didn't thought about it.
I'm not.
Not to switch on a light, or when you come on Friday to the synagogue, all lights are on, and I suppose they
Yeah, okay, but
are
but
switched
you can
on for the
choose
whole
to.
of Shabbat.
But you can choose to make it different in your home, to have only one light. And so it will be a little darker in the house, but it's good for the environment, I think.
So a light on Shabbat,
Just one
just one.
or two, maybe.
But for the whole of Shabbat.
Huh? No, I don't know how you live, but those, that's details. I can't answer.
You need to give a definition. This is the question. Who gives the definition, and what is our source based on which we give in the definition? So we're talking about hard physical work, but you need to prove that this definition is the right definition, right? Because we have in lot of ועונש, the example of creating fire, right? And when I'm creating fire, for example, if I have lager fire, so I just put stick in it and I have new fire. So it's forbidden on Shabbat. It's not hard work, right? So I don't see that the definition that a work of Shabbat is forbidden. It's a hard physical work. I don't see this definition, so I don't think this is the correct definition.
I think it's more in German the word Inbetriebnahme.
Oh,
Inbetriebnahme.
what it means?
Inbetriebnahme. Was heißt es auf Englisch? Inbetriebnahme.
Switch on.
No. So it's more about
Put to use.
making use of something that already exists.
So this is the thing. When we using, it's not mlacha, right? When we use something that exists already, it's for example, if I drink from the glass, so it's not mlacha, right? I'm using water.
Yeah. No, it's not right.
But if I want to bring water from the outside to my house, this is mlacha, because my house was without water, and now I brought water to my house. So now I have water. So this.
I think basically is 6 days you work, that is, you create things,
Right.
And on the seventh day, you do not create.
Oh, this is better. Yes, you don't create. So this is about creation.
So if the car is already existing,
Oh,
But this is in Betriebnahme.
I
The word, I don't have Google here.
I have it.
In Betriebnahme.
But you need to finish first. Your thought about the car. Ввод в експлуатацию. Oh. So if I'm starting to use something.
Yes, or it's not only start.
So it's from nehmen. Nehmen, yes.
Betriebnehmen is.
So Betrieb is use. So I bring something to use. So I'm starting to use something.
Yeah, not only starting, but also continuing to use something that has been invented on the 6 days.
I like the idea that you said about the car. So to build the car should be forbidden, and to use a car should not be forbidden. This is the idea, right? This is a good idea. So this is the topic of electricity, right? So it's a very new topic, around 100 years, not that much. So we need to learn this topic, but it's not really our topic today.
see practically.
Uh-huh.
Look at the map and look where the members of this community are located.
Yeah.
And I think halakhically it's okay to go 1,000 steps back and 1,000 steps around Ratsberger Straße. That's a very small area.
But we also discussed it on Shabbat. You can go within the city. Within the city is okay. So steps is outside the city, right? So if I have my settlement, so within my settlement, it's okay to go 5 kilometers is normal. So what people do in the cities when they observe Shabbat, when they go to synagogue, they go 1 hour, and they go. It is what Orthodox do today.
You expect them to walk. If it's a bigger city like Munich, I guess they have one synagogue in Munich.
In Munich, there are at least 3, I think, synagogues. You in which he was? He was in Ohel Yaakov? Or you
Did not visit the
you wasn't.
synagogue in Munich.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we need to go back to our topic, reward and the punishment. So what are the reward and what are the punishment? So the idea is that we expect that something would happen when we do something good, and something would happen when we do something bad. So the question is, what is good that will happen, and what is? This is the question, right? Because if we just perform mitzvot and nothing will happen, so what's the meaning of it, right? To influence on something, to have some impact in the end, right?
I think part of the impact is on oneself. I've seen a friend saying rapport at very much occasions, and I have the impression it gives him inner calmness.
This is a good example.
And the reward is immediate.
Oh,
It
very good.
It helps him over the day. So it's not a world to come in 10 million years. And it is for the world to come in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, good. I agree.
Doing things right makes the world go on. And doing things wrong might mess things up.
Sure.
That adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
Adding carbon
dioxide to the atmosphere is known that since 130 years that is going to heat up the planet. Nobody cared, and still nobody cares.
There are more important questions now.
As you say,
Unfortunately.
we should reduce and we will reduce, but if you look at the curves, every year they added more than the year before. And that surely is going to mess up our climate.
Yeah, sure.
And there surely will be a punishment.
Oh,
So doing this right gives us comfort.
It's not a punishment, it's a logical consequence.
oh. Mm-hmm.
So it's a self
Consequences, yes.
punishment if you want,
Oh.
but it's not something from outside. So it's something
Naturally, comes naturally.
cause and receive.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's kind of punishment.
Yeah, for the generations to come, they are punished for all their behavior. Yes.
Oh, yeah, this.
If you're going to reach the age of 120,
Mm-hmm.
you yourself might be the generation to come.
Yes,
And you yourself might suffer the
yeah,
consequences.
I feel the consequences of my misbehavior and the misbehavior of others. Mm-hmm.
This is why we need society with the rules, with the laws, that the others would not affect my bad situation that I have, right?
In some cases, it's not sufficient for one person to do the right things, but one has to convince all the others to do.
For sure. So the law that we learning now, it's for all the Jews, right? So this is the law of all Jews, and all this idea of the world to come exists in our worldview. So it's important for all of Jews, right? So this is the topic, the identity, the Jewish identity. So Jewish nation have this idea of Olam Haba. So we're learning about it, right? And the idea is Tov, L'olam Shekol Aruch. So it's from Masechet Kiddushin, Talmud Bavli. So what is the bad things that would happen? The worst that could happen is tikaret hanefesh, that the soul is going to be destroyed, disappeared, doesn't exist. And this called karet. So usually when usually, like we learned in Mishnah, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chalok l'olam haba. So all Jews have their part in the Olam Haba, except some exceptions. So usually when Jewish die, his soul continues to exist, but the punishment, the biggest punishment is when not only the body dies, but also the soul will die. So nothing left from the person. So this is the biggest punishment. It's called karet. Okay, and he quotes here additional things that we cannot understand with our feelings, emotions. What is Olam Haba? And it says in the prophet, "Ein lo ra'ata Elohim zulatecha." No one's eye saw it except God. So only God knows what would happen in the next world, and all the other don't. And the quote from Talmud about the prophecies. So all the prophecies, we have a lot of good prophecies, right? That there would be no more war, and the animals would live together and not kill each other, things like this. So all of these prophecies are only are about Yemot HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach, which we will learn also. But Olam Haba, Ein lo ra'ata Elohim zulatecha. We don't have any prophecy about Olam Haba. So this is what we want to learn today how we relate to the written Torah, which says that reward is in this world and not in Olam Haba. And Rambam explains it. והוא זה, כי הוא אמר לך, אם תעשה מצוות האלה, עשייה לך לעשייתם והשלמות בהם, והסיר מעליך המעיקים והמונעים כולם. So the idea is, if we go with the path of Torah, so God helps us to go on this path. So if we perform in commandments of the God, so God helps us to continue to perform these commandments, which is we need to eat. So God gives us food, and if we don't perform, so God doesn't help us. So we don't receive food. This is the idea. לפי שאדם אי אפשר לעשות מצוות כשהוא חולה. For example, if the person is sick, or if the person is hungry, he cannot perform mitzvot, or if the person is thirsty. לא בשעת המלחמה. Or for example, if there is a war, it's very hard to perform mitzvot because you need to go to the war. You cannot just sit in sukkah, right? ומצור, ולכן יעד שיסורו כל אלה העניינים ושיהיו בריאים ושקטים עד שתושלם להם הידיעה ויזכו לחיי עולם הבא. So the meaning behind what we read in Kriyat Shema is that the God would remove all the obstacles that we have to perform mitzvot, and that we will be healthy and no war, and then we can learn Torah, think about God, perform mitzvot, and then we will get to the Olam Haba. So this is the explanation of Rambam. הנה, כי אין תכלית שכר עשיית התורה באלה דברים כולם. So why I'm performing mitzvot? Not to achieve rain, right? וכמו כן, אם יבואו על התורה, יהינו שם שיראה להם אותם הרעות כולם, אז שלא יוכלו לעשות מצווה. And also the punishment is Olam Haba, but how we understand, the punishment is correct if I don't go to Olam Haba, so how we understand in the written Torah that the punishment is when we don't have rain. So if the person shows that he doesn't want to go with the path of God, so God punishes him and removes the possibility of following this path. וכמו שנאמר, תחת אשר לא עבדת. And the Rambam find this in the written Torah also. It's called midah k'neged midah. How you behave, God behaves with you. So if you don't serve God, so God punishes you. And initially you had the opportunities to serve God. You was rich, you had food. But now, if you don't serve God, so you don't serve. Now you don't have the opportunity to serve because you didn't want it to serve. This is how the system works. So it's called midah k'neged midah. It's not only in bad, but also in good. If you show that you want to follow this path of God and to perform mitzvot, so God helps you, so you will be healthy and you will have sufficient funds to live your life. Not because this is the reward that you're getting for the service, but this is the means for the service. This is the philosophy of Rambam. וכשתתבונן בזה התבוננות שלמה תמצא כאילו הוא אומר לך אם עשית קצת מצוות מהאהבה והשתדלות עזרך לעשותם כולם וישים אליך מעניקים ומונעים. So in other words, Rambam is great teacher, so paraphrases it. So it's like Torah says, if you perform a little of mitzvot מהאהבה, because you love God, השתדלות, you're showing that you go into this direction, עזרך לעשותם כולם. I, God, will help you to perform all of them, ואסיר מעליך מעניקים ומונעים, and I will remove from you all the obstacles that you have. It works. ואם תעזוב דבר מהם דרך ביזוי, אביא לך מונעים, ימנעוך מאותם כולם, עד שלא יהיה לך שלמות, ולא קיום בעולם הבא. וזהו, very logical. But if you showing disrespect, you don't perform some of mitzvot, דרך ביזוי, not just occasionally, or because you had, I don't know, maybe you was very tired, but דרך ביזוי, it means you just doesn't want it. intentionally doesn't perform some of mitzvot, avila hamonim, then God brings some obstacles to you, and it would interfere your future performance of mitzvot, of all mitzvot. Ad shelo yeh lecha shlemut, and therefore you will not be shalem. It's a very big concept. Shalem, like a whole person. And therefore, you cannot exist in the world to come. So basically, in order to get to Olam Haba, your soul should be purified, we could say. So the mitzvot helps us to pure ourselves. So if the person shows that he doesn't want to have his soul pure, then God sends this person obstacles, and then the person could not be pure, and therefore he could not go to Olam Haba, because in order to go to Olam Haba, you need to be pure. This is how the system works, because you need to understand God properly. And if you don't understand God properly, you don't go to Olam Haba. And this is what the sages said, Schar mitzvah mitzvah, it's Pirkei Avot. The reward for mitzvah is mitzvah. Uschar avera, avera. And what reward you receive when you perform avera is another avera.
What was the word?
Avera. Avera is when you trespass the law.
Okay.
Sin. So when you make one sin, your reward would be to receive another sin. And when you perform a mitzvah, your reward will be another mitzvah. So Rambam explains that this quote is this idea, his worldview. Then when we perform mitzvot, God helps us to follow this path and helps us to perform more mitzvot. This is what means schar mitzvah mitzvah. So when we perform one mitzvah, we received the reward another mitzvah because we value this path and we value mitzvot. Uschar avera avera means when the person values sins and not mitzvot, so he will receive more sins. So this is the other example of midah k'neged midah. How person behaves, this is what he receives in return. So this is the explanation of Rambam, how we understand what is said in the written Torah. So it's about our path in this world. So we want to follow our path, and if we want, then God will help us if this is the path of God. And if we don't want to follow the path of God, then God will not help us. So it will be very hard for us to live. But it's not the reward and the punishment, but the main reward is when we purify our souls, when we perform all the mitzvot, and then we can be closer to God because our soul is purified. And we cannot be closer to God when our soul is not purified, right? So this is the philosophy of Rambam. Yes. So I guess next time we will learn about Tzaddik and Rasha, because we have Rosh Hashanah upcoming, so new year. So we want to have a good year. So the question is how this system works. How can we receive? I speak technically. How can we receive a good year? And what we need to do to not receive a bad year, because this year was not so good. So this should be our topic for the next time, and we will talk about zchuyot, good merits, about tzaddik, the righteous man, and rasha, byosa. So who is tzaddik? Who is rasha? So this would be the next topic. Yes.
What is good and what is bad?
Yes, this is a very good question.
One does not know in advance.
Huh?
One does not know in advance.
Yes, but we assume.
There's a favor.
Yes. Please.
A person has a son, and the son has a horse.
Okay.
And someday the horse goes, and all the neighbors say, "Poor guy, he has lost his soul horse."
Mm-hmm. And
A few days later, his horse comes back with another horse. And all the neighbors say, oh, this lucky guy,
Okay.
he has now 2 horses.
Oh, mazel tov. Okay.
The guy is happy with his new horse and tries to ride on it. But unfortunately, after a few days, he falls from the horse and breaks his leg. And all the neighbors say, oh, this poor guy has broken his leg.
Okay.
The next week, come people from the king who want to get all young men for the army.
Oh.
And this guy with his broken
Like,
leg, the only young guy in the village,
who didn't go?
who did not go.
Mhm.
And all the neighbors said, oh, this lucky guy. So what is good? What is bad?
So this is what people think is good or bad. But I think God knows what's good and bad.
Oh.
Don't you think?
If we see it, even we have a feeling, oh, this is good or this is bad. But we see only this one event.
Yeah, but
And history is a long sequence of events.
yeah.
Something that looks good now may look bad or a week later, and vice versa.
Yes, of course.
So you look in retrospectively.
And you said it was a terrible year for Israel, and sure it was, not only in Israel or in the whole world. For Jews. It's very sad, but it has some effects. People in Israel, they stand together. They have a spirit we will live on. Israel itself, it was founded after the Second World War. If it were not for the Nazis in Germany who tried to exterminate Jews, the dream of Theodor Herzl probably would not come true.
Yeah, but you're talking about the past, But here we're talking about the future, the good that we want to receive in the future. So this is why, this is the explanation why we're looking for something that is not relatively good, but absolutely good. This is the idea of Rambam, right? Because what we have in the written Torah is relatively good, like you said. So the rain, yes, I will have the rain, but sometimes I forgot my bike outside, so now the rain is not good for me, right? So what gives me this rain? And I don't need the rain because I go to the store to buy groceries. So
Because
the,
somehow the
everything is
vegetables and the food have to grow and find a way to the grocery store.
yeah, but it's not rain here; it's rain there. I don't need it.
So you want to say everything has 2 sides. So it can be good, it can be bad, depending on the circumstances, when it happens, where it happens. But we are talking, I think, about so if there is a God, then this God knows what's good and bad. And if this God, who knows what's good and bad, just asks mitzvot, then he knows that those mitzvot are good for us. And it doesn't depend on the neighbors, what they think, if I'm lucky or not.
Yeah.
But there's something above the knowledge of man but I understand what you want to say. So in our view, things can be good or bad, or for me, things are good, but for you, the same thing is bad, maybe, but it's another level, I think, we're talking about, or different.
Yeah, we're looking for something not relatively bad, but absolutely, not relatively good, but absolutely good. This is the intention of Rambam. And he believed that this is the intention of Torah, to give person something which is good absolutely. Right?
I really doubt whether we humans can really imagine something absolutely good.
No, it's hard to
Yeah.
it's hard to talk about, right?
And about the mitzvot, I think Hashem is not waiting. Did he perform his mitzvot last week? I'm going to punish him.
No, it's not the concept, I think.
He knows before.
Oh, knows before. It's another paradox.
I think it's built in.
What built in?
Built in. It's automatic.
What automatic?
Automatic. If somebody performs mitzvot, he feels good.
Sometimes. Okay.
And if he feels good, what is going to do next? Perform another mitzvah.
No, I think the mitzvot are like the light lamp on the road. So you have a huge amount of possibilities what to do and where to go in your life. And those light plankton, they help you to not to leave the way and to be on a good way. So that's how I understand it. It's not something that restricts you all the time, but that leads you more and helps you not to fall runter, seitlich. Weißt du, wie ich meine? Also zum Beispiel.
If you drive off the road, your car will be ruined, and that's the immediate punishment.
Yes,
there's
but it's an image. It's an image.
no need for something from above.
It's just an image. It's an image. It's a metaphor. It's not meant word by word. So I'm not talking about driving my car on a street. So this road isn't this road. So it's my life, and the mitzvot are like something on the side which help me not to fall.
Yeah, shows the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And show me the way, but it's not something that restricts me all the time. So for example, on Shabbat, if you don't know how to keep Shabbat, so you think, oh, I could do this, it's only simple word, I could do this, oh, it's only something small, but in the end you're exhausted because you did many small things maybe.
Oh, this is a good idea, I like it. Mm-hmm.
If you know, no, it's not the time to think about what to do next in your garden. Even this is not allowed to think about it. And it's really something that relaxes me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And to really recover on this day, to have strength to start and to
continue.
To continue and to have power for the next 6 days. And it's like with the soil, we were talking about soil. So it was so interesting for me that the same word is being used for the soil and for
man.
For Shabbat. So we keep the soil and we keep Shabbat.
Keep.
And we are like the soil will be exhausted when we are treating endlessly. So also we will be exhausted and not able to continue, or we will be sick or something else. So I think this concept is, so if I need to go by car somewhere because I want to be in synagogue, so I don't I'm not sure. You have to answer this question. What's better, to stay at home or to go to synagogue by car?
Everyone needs to decide in his
Yeah,
circumstances.
yeah. But so if I have the intention to keep Shabbat and I observe as much as I can, and so in some cases I need to decide, okay, what's more important, to be here or not. But in the end, it really is something that does me good, and not something that makes me I'm not able to move anymore. So
As you described it, the reward is immediate.
yeah, it is.
It's not in the world
The week
to
to
come,
come.
it's now.
Yeah, it's now. Yeah.
Report. Yes, this is interesting. So basically, Rambam says that so the mitzvot purifies your soul, your mind, and then your soul could be more connected to God, right? But you can also say that when you purify your soul, it rewards you in this world, and you feel more connected to God even in this world. So the world to come is just a peak of it, but it also starts here, if you like to say it. It makes sense also, yes. Does Rambam have this understanding that the body limits our contact with God? So after our body doesn't exist, the soul can contact God in this way that's impossible when we have a body. This is the limit, the barrier that we can surpass after the body dies. So the soul could get closer to God after we die, or could not get closer to God. This is the reward and the punishment. This is the idea.
But the soul alone can it perform its work? If it cannot work for 6 days, it cannot rest on the 7th.
The soul could not perform mitzvot. The body performs mitzvot, yes?
Yeah.
So what do you want to say? It's interesting when you talked about the God waiting. It's also an important question. So this is what was previous, right? We said that the God knows what's happening. So knows, it means he's interested, right? So God is wonders, right? If this person would perform so or not. So maybe, I don't know if he waits, but it's important, right? This is the whole idea of covenant, right? So we have a covenant with God that we need to do this, and if we do this, what he wants, he will do what we want. So it's relationship, right? So this is the idea. If we don't have a relationship with God, so we don't have anything, right? So we need to perform mitzvot because we obligated. So we made a covenant with God, and therefore we need to perform mitzvot. So you can say that we have to do it for God, or we have to do it for ourselves because we agreed to do it. You can look how you prefer. But it's God responds to it, right? Maybe he doesn't have time to wait, but he responds, right? This is the idea of hashgacha. It's called hashgacha in our worldview. So he's mashgiach. He looks on. And there is hashgacha klalit and hashgacha pratit. So not only that God observes the whole world and he's interested in what's going on, but also sometimes, not every time, but sometimes some person have hashgacha pratit. So sometimes God wanders or following specific person and helps him, or the other way disrupts him in his path. So it's called hashgacha, and this is one of the principles of faith, yes. So God, mitzvot, we, so This is the triangle, right? And about knowing in advance, it's famous paradox. So it's Rambam very much talks about this idea of free will. So he insists that free will exists. So of course it contradicts that God knows everything, but still it doesn't make free will disappear, right? It's a big paradox.
It is not a paradox if the reward or punishment is not by a decision post, but automatically built in.
What do you mean automatically built in?
If I do things right, if you observe Shabbat, you feel the immediate reward. It's good for you. And if you do other things, you might feel exhausted and think, had I observed Shabbat, I would be better off now. So nobody is externally rewarding or punishing you. You have your free will to do this or that. And doing this or that, you automatically get the result.
But it's not automatically, I think. It's not all, not always like this. I don't know. I can't just speak about me. I don't know.
It's built in the structure of the world, and who made the world?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, this.
It's called determinism. It's in this style. So cause and coincidence, consequence, cause, consequence. Yes.
It's not exactly deterministic, but there's a free will. I can decide to do this or that.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and nobody externally is going to reward or punish me. But I myself choose this with punishment, choose that with reward.
Yeah, what you said right now was that the one who created the world knows what is good and bad, and if I follow
the good way
or the mitzvot, which the one who created the world gave us, then
I will feel
good for me. Yeah, that's what you said right now.
If you buy an
That's what I
appliance,
understood.
that comes a small booklet with it, directions of use.
Yes, that's
And
it.
if you follow this direction,
it's like
the appliance will work perfectly for you.
It's like an instruction for life, yes.
If you do something that is not in the directions for use, you can use anything as a hammer, but
yes.
that it may be not good for the object.
Ja, es wäre eine Gebrauchsanweisung für das Leben, ja. Wie sagt man Gebrauchsanweisung? Instruction? Instruction.
Manual.
Yeah, it's like a manual. It's a good image.
Yeah, everyone uses this metaphor, yes. Okay, you can say automatically. It's not a problem to say it.
Yeah, we are so used
the free will is about the action, yes. The action that you do, is it you doing it or not? This is the question of free will and the knowledge of God, yes. If God knows what you will do, then it's not your choice. You're not making a choice, right? Because it was known before. This is the paradox. This is the paradox. It's not in the field of reward, in the field of action, choice.
Police, filling stations, and the one they know what to expect when a holiday comes. a lot of people are going on the autobahn. And there will be congestions, there will be high demand for fuel and so on. They can plan for that, but the individual can freely decide whether to go into that mess or not.
So what do you want to say with this example?
Free will does not be a contradiction to somebody knowing ahead.
But this example is about guessing, it's about statistics, right? So it's not knowing, exact knowing, right? It's just chances, right? There are high chances that something will happen. So based on this high chance, I change some system, adapt, but it's not knowing for sure in this example, right? But when we talk about God, we talk that he knows everything better than us. So it's not a good example, I think.
Why not? We cannot directly ask him.
Yeah, but this is the understanding.
Privately, in your head, in your prayers, ask, and you can do the same, and the answers may be different.
No.
The answer is what?
The answers may be different. A lot of questions, a lot of rabbis thinking about these issues, and they came up with different answers.
Which means some of them are wrong.
Which means they were talking to Hashem and they got different answers.
Maybe they are all right.
Maybe.
One of them maybe is an aspect.
So, what with this example with the wall that's it's Shammai? Is he there? No.
Which wall?
There's a very famous example of rabbis having a dispute, and one says, "If
Usually doesn't talk with rabbis. Usually doesn't talk with God, and their decisions is based on their logic, their understanding. Because if person talks with God, he is a prophet, right? So most rabbis are not prophets. At least this is how we think.
In the end of this story, he says the Torah is not in the heaven but on the earth. You know which one?
Yeah, it's a very famous story.
Very famous, yeah.
It's in Masechet Bava Metzia, I think. It's in this black book. I don't know. I wanted to learn it with Yosef because Yosef was also quoting this story.
It's the most famous story, I think, from Talmud.
I think it's here. Or not. Ah, yes. It's about specific law. I think it doesn't matter what was the question. And it was the dispute between Rabbi Eliezer and other sages. I think the other sages is Rabbi Yoshua and the others. And Amar lהם מלאכה כמותי חרוב זו יוכיח. So Rabbi Eliezer was explaining his position and was answering all the questions, and but still, for some reason, other rabbis doesn't wanted to agree with him. Maybe it was political reasons. We need to learn this topic. Amar lהם מלאכה כמותי חרוב זו יוכיח. So Rabbi Eliezer said, if I am right, which means if the law is how I say in it, חרוב זו יוכיח. So this tree will prove it. נעקר החרוב ממקומו מהאמה. So the tree obeyed the rabbi and he moved from one place to other, the tree, for 50 meters. ואמרי לה 400. And some said it was not 50 meters, but 200 meters. אמרו לו, אין יראה מן החרוב. So, but the other Rabbi says how it's connected to the matter. It's not proving your point, right? חזר ואמר להם, אם הלכה כמותי, אמת המים יוכיחו. So then Rabbi Eliezer says, second option, if halacha is like I'm saying, amat hamayim yוכיחו. So this be'er, so the source of water will prove חזרו אמת המים לאחוריהם. So the water was going to this direction and they went to other direction. אמרו לו, אין רואים ראה אמת המים. So then the sages said, it's not connected to the matter, it's not proof that you're right. And it doesn't prove. חזר ואמר להם, so the third try to prove that he is right. If the law is like I'm saying, כותלי בית המדרש יוכיחו. So it's something closer to the topic. So the walls of the learning room will prove. היטו כותלי בית המדרש ליפול. So then the walls started to fall. It's very good plot. We can make a movie. גער בהם רבי יהושע. But then Rabbi Yoshua was yelling on the walls. And here is the moment where the time stops. אמר להם, אם תלמידי חכמים מנצחים זה את זה בהלכה, אתם, מה טיבכם? So Rabbi Yoshua was arguing with the walls, basically. If the sages, rabbis, are discussing and struggling with each other, how it's connected to you, the walls. So the walls now have a paradox, dilemma. What they need to do, they need to fall because they want to prove that Rabbi Eliezer is right, but Rabbi Yoshua saying to the walls that you should not interfere, right? So the walls should honor this rabbi and this rabbi, but it's a contradiction, right? So what the wise wall doing? They're not falling because they want to honor Rabbi Yoshua, which said you should not interfere. But they didn't came back because they wanted to show the respect for Rabbi Eliezer. So they remained in this position in between. This is a legend that we have. Very beautiful. So the fourth try, so it's like we could say a sucker punch, a forbidden thing to do. Rabbi Eliezer said, if I'm right, so from the heaven, we will get the proof from the heaven, not from the earth, because we had three times from the earth, it's not working. יצתה בת קול ואמרה, מה לכם אצל רבי אליעזר שהלכה כמותו בכל מקום. So there appeared something called bat kol. It's not clear what it is exactly. It's some voice. So this voice said, what do you want from Rabbi Eliezer? The law is like he said in any place. אמן רבי יהושע להגה ואמר, לא בשמיים היא. Then Rabbi Yoshua stood up on his feet. So previous discussion was sitting, was longsome, and now it's very nervous discussion, right? Rabbi Yoshua standing and saying, "Lo b'shamayim hi." It's a quote from a song Ha'azinu. Moses talks about the Torah, and Moses tries to speak to Jewish people that they need to absorb Torah and learn Torah. It's not something very far from you. And the example of something very far from you is something that it's in the sky, right? So this is the quote. The Torah is not in the sky. It's here on the earth, right? So we rabbis, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, we decide what the law is and not the sky, right? This very important story. My lo b'shamayim hi. So what this quote means here, and that it's not on the heaven, on the sky. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. So because indeed we receive Torah from God, right? So it's normally if we ask God for the answer, if we're not sure, right? So what this means, the Torah is not in the sky. שכבר ניתנה תורה מהר סיני, אין אנו משגיחים עד כל. שכבר כתבת בהר סיני בתורה אחרי רבים נתון. So if someone doesn't get the joke, so someone explaining the joke. So here, when it starts to be boring, so Rabbi Yirmiyah brings very long explanation of this beautiful story. So first of all, Rabbi Yirmiyah is saying that Torah, we received the Torah from Mountain Sinai, right? And after it, we don't obey to the voice of heaven. So we have the law, and like we learned, the Torah could not change. So the Torah that we received from the Mountain Sinai could not change. Even that if we have bat kol, the voice from heaven, we cannot, we just don't pay attention to this voice. Why? Because it contradicts the law. שכבר כתבת בהר סיני, you, God, already have written in the Torah. So we see from here that it was God that wrote the Torah. אחרי רבים להטות. It's quote from the book of Shmot. So if you have the doubt, you need to go with the most opinions, right? So it's democracy. We vote, and the most opinions, we go to this direction. And if someone have his own opinion, minor, the law is based on the majority and not on minority. This is very important rule in the law, right? And our law is also the basic for Christian law, right? So it's also in Christianity, Shmot, the book of Exodus. You should, the law should work with majority and not with minority, right? This is a very big problem that we have in today. Ashkechei Rabbi Natan leEliyahu, and the postscriptum after the titles that we see at the end of the movie, the last scene, Rabbi Natan found Eliyahu Navi. Amar Leima, Eliyahu Navi is a legendary person that is between heaven and earth, right? So he died, but he didn't actually die. He comes back from time to time, and some rabbis can connect with this Eliyahu Navi indeed. Not talk with God, but with Eliyahu Navi. Yes, some great rabbis can talk with Eliyahu Navi. So, for example, Rabbi Natan, he met Eliyahu Navi. Amar lima yavid kud shabrichi b'ray shata. Oh, so Rabbi could ask Eliyahu Navi what God does now. Amar li kachayich. So Eliyahu Navi answers, God is smiling or laughing. You can translate it either way. Ve'amar, and saying, nitzchuni banai, nitzchuni banai. Which nitzchuni means to win. But I think the win is about the dispute, the discussion. So you won. So it's like the father playing with his sons. So the father saying, you won, I surrender, right? So basically, God loves his sons. So of course, God is right and human are wrong. But it's not just destruct God and destruct human. It's the father and sons. So the father loves his sons, and the father ready to agree that his son is right, even that the father disagrees within himself, but on the outfit, he's saying, you're right, you do like you wish. אמרו אותו היום הביאו כל תראות שתראה רבי אליעזר ושרפום באש ונמנו עליו וברכו ואמרו מי ילך וידוע. Okay, so we will not learn it until the end. So it was political coincidences of this story. So Rabbi Eliezer basically lost the dispute. So he lost his power and authority. So rabbis was thinking who will be the new big rabbi, main rabbi. So it was a big story about it. Yes, so this is the story, yes. So this is very important story, how we relate to the law and to the God that gave the law. So this is the question of revelation. So it was the revelation on Mount Sinai. So it was the biggest revelation that we ever had. So this is our belief. So theoretically, we could have new revelations like Bat Kol, for example, but this new revelation could not contradict the law that we already have. So theoretically, the new revelation, we also learn it about the prophecy. New revelation could add temporary law that we need to perform once, but it could not be new law that we need to perform for all the future generations, because the revelation on Mount Sinai, it was unique and it could not happen again. So this is the idea, right? So this is our our identity, and it contradicts Christianity and Islam, right? Because Christianity believes that it's possible that a new prophecy, new revelation could cancel the old revelation. This is why they have Old Testament and New Testament, right? So it's very important to us to preserve our revelation and our law. So new revelation could not contradict the previous one. This is our belief, right? This is the story.
Mm-hmm. I think I need to go.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So tomorrow is Hebrew at 7, and movie night is at 6 on Mittwoch.